The short answer is maybe, but a minimal amount, unless you're trying to combat wheel bite, that is. The long answer is a little more complex. Quickly, if you haven't already subscribed, please do consider it, but let's get to it. Let's start with your deck. The size of your deck makes very little difference regardless. Flip speed. I tested this with 5 flips on each size board and measured from the start of the pop for the trick until the board stopped rotating whilst in the air. For the 7-inch deck, I got an average of 25 frames to complete the rotation. For the 9.6-inch deck, I got an average of 26 frames, a negligible difference although the initiated might see the flaw with the approach I took. Slide distance. For this, I set up 3 rails together and took multiple attempts from the same point. I held push for 2 pushes and ollied from the same point to be as consistent as possible. I then plotted the points where I stopped sliding, and as you can see, they're all around the same point. However, the large board does tend to be slightly further back than the narrower board. I'll also just throw it out quickly, deck rails don't protect the graphic nor do they reduce the friction of a board slide. Next, let's talk about the trucks. The main thing I found between the truck sizes were the smaller the truck, the more precise you need to be with your approach and landing into a grind. However, I found this gave me a feeling of being locked into the grind more than when using a larger truck, and less grinding on a ledge when I found it to take full advantage of the extra room on the truck. Truck tightness is where it starts to get interesting and tie into wheel bite, although I will mention the truck tightness doesn't affect the grind themselves. The other side to this though is trucks that are too loose can cause speed wobble as well as wildly veering off to the side when landing a trick. Where does wheel bite come into this, you ask? Let me explain. I started by reducing the truck tightness until the wheels bit when I was stationary and held the right trigger and pressed push. This gave me a point I could measure any difference against. So when I changed the wheels from 50mm to a 60mm wheel, I had to increase the truck tightness by 1 click and the wheels would still bite. Remember, at this level for a 50mm wheel, the wheels were rolling free. So we can say for sure that the wheel size does have an effect on when the wheel bites. So what about risers? Using the smallest riser allowed me to reduce the truck tightness back down to the same point as a 50mm wheel without a riser. Using every other size riser let me reduce the truck tightness by 1 click. Quickly to finish with, I didn't find any difference between the wheel size and how quickly you accelerate, although I was testing this by holding the push button rather than spamming it, so it's possible that any benefit would only be seen when trying to accelerate as fast as possible. Ultimately, the setup makes very little difference on your tricks and grinds, so skate whatever feels best for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you would have tested it differently. Finally, I'd like to say a massive thanks to Razorback Raw for suggesting the basic idea behind this video. I don't think I'd have come up with this by myself, so thank you.